Hello everyone. I trust all of you are doing well. My name is Bharat Rajwani and I welcome you to this session. The topic we are going to discuss is promoter reclassification, what it means, why it is done, and the step-by-step procedure involved. So before I take you through the entire presentation, let us quickly review the table of content. These are the key sections we'll be covering in this presentation. This will give you a clear overview of the flow and help you understand how we will move through the concept, the process, and the practical aspect of the promoter reclassification. So in this, we are going to cover introduction, key reasons for promoter reclassification, regulatory framework, SEBI guidelines, step-by-step procedure for reclassification, post-reclassification obligation of the outgoing promoter, and practical takeaways. So before we begin, I wanted to say that the presentation is intended for educational purposes and is based on my understanding of the subject matter and limited practical experience. However, the applicability of the content may vary on a case-to-case basis and may have additional implication on the specific circumstances. Introduction. A promoter is an individual or entity who is instrumental in the formation of a company or who exercise control over its affairs or is named as a promoter in the company's record. So basically, the promoters are the founding member of the company. Those whose names are often captured in the memorandum and article of association. A promoter also include anyone who exercises control over the company's affairs or is specifically included in the company's record like shareholding pattern and the prospectus or annual return. The promoter group includes the promoter relatives and other entities that categorize as a part of promoter group in the company's record. The promoter group typically includes their promoter relatives and other entities that are categorized as a part of group in the company's record. So when a promoter or a member of promoter group wants to be treated as public shareholder, they seek reclassification, which is referred to as promoter reclassification. So what are the key reasons for promoter reclassification? So loss of control, when a promoter or promoter group no longer exercise direct or indirect control over company affairs, even if they retain a small shareholding, reclassification as a public shareholder is necessary. Two is compliance with regulation. When promoter is no longer actively involved and wants to be relieved from the continuous compliance obligation, such as trading window and the insider trading norms under the insider trading regulation or SEBI regulation. Professionally management. When a company becomes professionally managed and no longer has promoter, reclassification can be necessary to reflect the change in ownership structure. Acquisition and takeover. After a takeover or open offer, the previous promoter may no longer be in control and requiring reclassification. Family dispute or divorce between the promoter can lead to a situation where one party loses control or influence, making reclassification necessary. So regulatory framework, SEBI guidelines, the promoter reclassification is governed by Regulation 31A of SEBI Listing Regulation 2015. So the sub-regulation 31A outline three key clauses, that is A, B, and C, which are applicable when promoter voluntarily seek reclassification. Clause A and B that lays down the typical condition and procedural requirements that both the outgoing promoter and the listed entity must fulfill. Clause C, on other hand, specifies certain conditions that the listed entity must comply with as a part of reclassification process. So the clause A and B we will cover it up in the subsequent slide, and the C we will cover it here. So there are following conditions that the listed entity shall fulfill. Companies complied with the minimum public shareholding as required under Regulation 38 of SEBI LODR, which says that the public shareholding in the company shall be minimum 25%. accepting with sub companies or sectors. Then trading in the shares of the company has not been suspended by the stock exchanges. Third, company does not have any outstanding dues to the SEBI, exchanges or depository. Now let us go through the step-by-step procedure involved in the promoter reclassification process. First, application request to the company, board meeting, application to stock exchanges, shareholder approval. So first, application to company. The application request to company by promoter or group seeking reclassification. So the promoter or promoter group who wants to reclassify has to send the application or request to company. The application should contain two things, that one is the rationale for reclassification that he should provide or she should provide, and B, the confirmation on satisfying the condition of clause 3B of SEBI LODR. What are the condition of clause 3B that we will discuss now? So these are the following conditions that the outgoing promoter basically should comply with, that the person and the related person related to him or her shall not together hold voting rights of more than 10% of the company, shall not exercise control directly and indirectly over the affairs of the company, shall not have any special right through any arrangement or agreement, shall not be represented on the board of directors including not by nominee director, shall not act as a KMP or be a willful defaulter as per RBI, shall not be a fugitive economic offender. So these are the conditions that the promoter and the related to him or her shall comply with. Now, once the company receives the request or application from the promoter or the promoter group, the company shall notify the stock exchanges within 24 hours. Second, board meeting. So the company need to convene a board meeting and consider this request within 2 months or at the next board meeting, whichever is earlier. So basically the board has to analyze the application, and once it is done means the decision of the board shall be disclosed to the stock exchanges within 24 hours. Number 3, application to stock exchanges. So the company must submit the application to all stock exchanges were listed within 5 days from the board meeting to seek their NOC. After that, once the application is filed, the company has to notify the stock exchanges about submission of application within 24 hours. Then whenever the company receive the approval or NOC from the stock exchanges, they have to inform to the stock exchanges within 24 hours for public information. Then what is the duration for the processing of application? So it is 30 days time. The application has to be processed within 30 days time, excluding any period taken to respond to queries. Step number 4, shareholder approval. So the ordinary resolution must be passed within 60 days of receiving NOC from the stock exchanges. However, in the following cases, the approval from shareholder is not necessary. First, the outgoing promoter hold voting rights of less than 1% of the company, or the reclassification is due to divorce between promoters. So once the company receive approval from the shareholder, they have to notify to stock exchanges within 5 days of shareholder approval. Then what is the post reclassification obligation of the outgoing promoter? So once the reclassification is done, the outgoing promoter shall comply with the following condition, that is that together the promoter and the related person shall not hold voting rights more than 10% of the company at any time. They shall not exercise control directly or indirectly over the affairs of the company at any time. They shall not have any special right through any arrangement or agreement at any time. They shall not be represented on the board of director, including not by nominee director, or act as the KMP of the company for a period of 3 years from reclassification. So, in case of non-compliance with any of the above conditions, they shall be automatically classified as promoter or promoter group. So, what are the practical takeaways? The challenges that comes during the procedure of promoter reclassification. So, to avoid any inadvertent non-compliance or receipt of a warning letter along with the approval from the stock exchanges, it is essential to closely monitor filings under Regulation 31A8. These regulations are time-bound and must be made within 24 hours, failing which non-compliance is triggered. It is recommended to file the application for reclassification to stock exchanges on the same day to avoid repeated filing for the same event. So, post-approval action, that is completion of reclassification procedure. The procedure for completing reclassification is applied as the case may be. So, in cases where the approval from a stock exchange alone is sufficient and the process is completed upon receipt of NOC. In other cases where shareholder approval is required and the reclassification is completed only after shareholder approval is obtained. The subsequent compliance shall be followed of completion as the case may be. So, in cases where the approval from stock exchange alone is sufficient, the company is required to intimate the stock exchanges within 24 hours of receiving the NOC in accordance with the Regulation 31A8. Conversely, where both the stock exchange approval and shareholder approval are necessary, separate intimation must be made to the stock exchanges, one upon receipt of NOC and another upon receipt of shareholder approval, each within 24 hours of respective approval as per the same regulation. B. After completion of promoter declassification process, the company must inform its RTA within 5 days to update records and ensure that the changes are reflected in the subsequent shareholding pattern of the company. This is to ensure compliance with Regulation 31A37, which requires the company to effect the reclassification. Further, in cases where the shareholder approval was required, the company must also notify the stock exchanges within 5 days of obtaining shareholder approval under the same regulation. So with this, we come to the end of this presentation. And if you have any doubt, concern, or if you have any differences of opinion, I would be happy to clarify and discuss. And I sincerely thank you all for taking the time to go through the topic. And I look forward to bringing you more such interesting topic in the future. And thank you once again. Thank you.